Servus Männer, it's Red Bull Germany again. Yesterday was the 17th of June, and this used to be a very important date in Germany, in Western Germany, that is. And for me and like minded people, it is still a very important date. Although, as you can imagine by the way I phrase things, generally and officially in Germany, this date has lost, I would say, all of its significance by now. But, well, for a few people, it still holds some importance. What is this day about? Well, it is the anniversary of the uprising in the year 1953 in occupied Eastern Germany. Eastern Germany by that time was already under Soviet rule and under the rule of the SED party, Sozialistische Einheitspartei Deutschlands, which has renamed itself into the party Die Linke that is still right now in the German Bundestag, and in Thüringen they even hold the position of governor. Mr. Ramelow is a SED or Die Linke governor who came from Western Germany to Thuringia, to Thüringen, in order to be the governor there. And in that year, in 1953, 17th of June, that was the day when the people of Eastern Germany, the good people of Eastern Germany, rose up against oppression and dictatorship. And I think it says a lot that this day has lost its significance. The Merkel regime does not want to commemorate this day. They deny all significance of this day, and they want to, well, flush it down the memory hole. Let's call it what it is. They want to make people forget about this day. Even newspapers don't write anything about it anymore, but stop. So I want to remind you in today's video of the events that took place back then and tell you guys that yes, even Germans can rise up against communist oppression. And it wasn't successful, of course, because we all know that in the end, I mean, in the beginning it was very successful, but as soon as the Soviet tanks were rolling in, the show was over. They started using force, and many people lost their lives. Many people were imprisoned and died in prison then. But initially, when it was against the SED and their administrative strongholds, they had a lot of success. And the second thing I want to do is, as I always do, I want to give credit where credit is due, and I want also to name a couple of positive examples for the German media. And that is one newspaper that made a very, very good article that was published in the Junge Freiheit. It is a small, independent, conservative newspaper. That is, well, it is small, but it is growing. The other newspapers, as you know, are not growing. The Junge Freiheit is, and I think we all know why, because they don't take part in a lot of this New World Order progressive nonsense. They are a conservative newspaper, a national newspaper, and I think people appreciate that. And so it's a good newspaper, I think. I disagree with them on some things, but that's not really the purpose of today's video. I just want to praise them today for the very good article. And what they did is, that is exactly how you need to do it. They got in contact with a person who witnessed this uprising and they interviewed him. And this is exactly what you need to do. You need to interview those people. That person, he was actually wounded. He was shot through the leg and could recover afterwards in hospital. Yeah, and he was a simple guy. He came to Eastern Germany as a refugee from actual Eastern Germany, I should say. And then he noticed, as a young man, he witnessed this uprising. So he went on a truck with some help of some truck drivers who supported this uprising, and they went to Gera. And on the way there, he said, it's a very cool story, they saw some communists who were putting on some billboards with communist propaganda with some glue, and they jumped off the truck. They grabbed those guys and they poured the glue. They had a glue bucket with them apparently. They poured it over their heads and sent them on their way. Yeah. And that gave everyone a good laugh. Then they went on to Gera, where the truck was driving through the gates of a state prison, where with political prisoners, and they freed those prisoners. Then the Soviet tanks came rolling in, and they started shooting, and that was the end of it, pretty much. Then he even said that the trucks went then to the inner side of the wall, and they kind of tilted the loading deck or the storage deck of the truck, or how you call that. It can be inclined, I guess. If you have some sand or gravel or something like that loaded, then you can pour it out like this. And they used that as an artificial ramp so that the prisoners could escape over the walls. Yeah. And also he witnessed that some administrative buildings and offices were raided by the revolutionaries, and they kind of the communists had to flee through the windows. That's the way he phrased it. So they jumped out of the windows in panic, and they threw a lot of documents and folders and even telephones out. It is actually funny how he describes that they threw the telephones out of the windows, and then because the telephones were still hooked up to the walls through the cables, then the telephones were actually banging into the outer wall, into the facade of the building. That must have looked funny. You throw a telephone out of the window, it's still attached, hooked up to the cord, and then bam, it just turns around and crashes into the outer wall. Yeah, so these are very interesting and very valuable witness reports from the events back in 1953. And this is exactly what you have to do. And it is very troublesome and very sad that this guy, he said that he approached school directors and newspapers in order to give a talk to the students, or be interviewed for an article, contribute for an article to, for this day, for this anniversary, for the 17th of June. But they all, well, in the beginning he could give some talks, but eventually they turned him down because politically, this kind of history lesson is not, is not what's wanted. It's not desired by the authorities in Germany right now in 2021. They want to be silent about this day. They want to make it disappear, and they, maybe it's a little mean if I say that, but I say it anyway. I think in Angela Merkel's mind and her supporters' mind, that guy cannot die soon enough. Yeah, they're just waiting for the witnesses to become old and die. And that is what they're banking on. They want them to disappear, and they want to make the whole story disappear. And so what is our great holiday these days? Unification Day. Oh, great. Yeah. But that used to be our national holiday, the day of the uprising in Eastern Germany. It was not just in Berlin. That example was from Gera. So, just a little reminder, that we used to have this as a holiday, and it was an important day, and that the current regime in Germany is not so fond of it for obvious reasons, because they are communists, of course. Merkel was a loyal communist in the Eastern satellite state, and I'm sure until this day she is a ardent supporter of communism. She is just taking a different avenue, maybe something that's closer to China. So you have economic growth and exports, but communism on the inside. And effectively one-party rule, as I explained so often. All right, just a little reminder, Germany's used to have it in them to rise up against communist oppression. And that is what we remembered yesterday on the 17th of June. Take care. Servus, Kameraden.